Good morning, everybody. Jobeth Bowers from Bowers Law, your Elkton accident and injury guy. Today, we talk about common injuries from auto accidents. That's right. This is your accident and injury guy right here in Elkton, back live in my Cecil County office. Happy to be out here sharing myself with you. Hope everybody enjoyed this weekend's Fall Fest in downtown Elkton. We were the main sponsor for the Howard Street stage. We're happy to do so. Tons and tons of fun, free family entertainment coming here every year for Fall Fest in Elkton. So thanks to everybody who is involved in putting that on, all of the vendors, all of the sponsors. Big shout outs to everybody involved with a great event. But today we are talking about injuries. Why are we talking about injuries? Because it's all I do. All we do is deal with injuries and car accidents and everything like that. So if for some reason you don't already know who to call, if you're in an accident in Elkton, Northeast, Rising Sun, anywhere else in Cecil County, it's me. The phone number is right here, 885-6200. Also, you can email us if that's what you prefer to do, info@bowerslawmd.com. Also use that if you have questions that you'd like to see answered on this podcast. That's what we do. And if it is not an accident-related question, send it on in. Why? If you haven't watched any of the other episodes, then maybe you don't know. But if you have, then you definitely know that I just bring in experts that know what they're talking about to answer your questions. And I'm happy to do so. But today we're talking about injuries. And we're talking about the types of injuries that we commonly see after an auto accident. And one thing I want to make very, very clear, because my office handles a lot of very, very serious injuries resulting from auto accidents. But I want to make it clear, because I have conversations with folks out in public that still lead me to believe that people don't necessarily feel like they need a lawyer for the little accident. Maybe you've got some bumps and bruises, some aches and pains, but nothing serious. In this area, I find traditionally a lot of people think that you only need to call a lawyer if you broke a bone, if you have to have a surgery, if there's something more serious going on. And that's just not the case. Are we amazing and wonderful at handling those big accident cases? Do we get six-figure verdicts when we need to? Absolutely. But we also settle cases that are small. Somebody who just has minor aches and pains, bumps, bruises. It happens. These accidents are in all shapes and sizes. And here at Bowers Law, what we do is provide a service to the community. So the size of the accident, not so important. That's right. Size doesn't necessarily matter. There are a lot of moving parts, as you've probably learned from other episodes of this podcast, that need to be navigated and navigated properly. So we don't care if your case is worth $3,000 or $3 million. We're here to handle it for you. So what do we see in these accidents? On the more minor side, it's strains, it's sprains, it's spasms in the muscles, things that you go to an urgent care or an ER for. You get x-rays to make sure that there's not a break, because sometimes there is. In fact, sometimes those breaks are not immediately apparent. We see this on a very regular basis when it comes to rib fractures. A lot of times the way that the ribs are and the body is set up, immediately after an accident, there's so much inflammation and so much swelling that rib fractures don't show up all the time on the day of or the day after an accident. Sometimes it takes 6-8 weeks in order for the inflammation to subside to the point where they show up. It doesn't mean they didn't happen. It just means it takes a little longer for the x-ray to be able to find them. Things like an MRI or a bone scan are going to find those right away, regardless of the inflammation, but they're totally different technology. We're not here to discuss that today. But those common From that situation, then typically clients end up in physical therapy. There are many great options in the area. And that time frame really varies for everybody. In fact, we're often asked, hey, how long should I go to physical therapy? And my answer to that question is always until you feel better. Everybody's different. Some folks go to physical therapy a couple days a week for a few months, and then they're fine. Some, it takes a little longer. Everyone's different. There is no blueprint. There is no playbook. You can test me all you want. You can call me up, say your name is X, Y, or Z, talk with a funny voice, whatever you want to do. I'm still going to give you the same answer. That's between you and your medical provider. Get the care you need until you feel better. There is no blueprint. There is no ideal, because at the end of the day, you've got to deal with your body for the rest of your life. If you hire us and we help you, we're going to hand you a check at the end of the process. If you still have aches and pains because you cut your treatment short, that ends up being on you at that point in time, which is unfortunate. So we encourage our clients to get the care that they need, and it's different for everybody. So we've seen sprains, we've seen strains, we've seen short stints in physical therapy, we've seen longer stints. Obviously, there are more serious injuries, broken bones, any sort of, ligament tear or problems that caused by herniation to the disc in the spinal cord. A lot of times these require surgery. We handle all of that stuff. We see them all on a very regular basis. And, each and every one of these is handled differently. Some of them, value-wise, insurance is a big deal with respect to kind of how we navigate these to put our clients in the best position possible. But keep in mind, that is our goal. Our goal with every single case, no matter how big or small, no matter how different they are, we understand the process. We know what it takes to put our client into the best position possible. As I've said before, and I will say again and constantly say, if we are hired day one, I'm not suggesting that you call us from the accident scene, although some people do. If we handle every part of the process other than you getting the medical care that you need, I can't get your medical care for you. We talked about that last week. Everything else that we can handle, if we navigate that, there's sometimes a $10,000 difference in what my client could have put in their pocket if they had hired us day one and we played quarterback for everything. And I'm really talking about which insurance companies pay for what and in what order. It makes a big difference. And I it's difficult for me when I have somebody who's hired me right from the day one, and we've gotten them the absolute best result, to kind of say, what would this have looked like had they not called me and let things go in a different direction? Most of that where I'm referencing that $10,000 from are situations where I look at a case, I look at the order in which things were paid and the money, and I can backtrack to say, well, it would have looked like this had they hired us right away. So that number right there, that 885-6200 number, save that number in your phone. All right. A good place to call me immediately when you leave the ER. So when you get in that accident, I will tell you another amazing piece of advice. This is something that people don't always understand. In fact, when I was younger, I didn't understand this. It took somebody basically pushing me into an ambulance to get me to go. I always used to think, hey, I'm the tough guy. I'll be fine. Rub some dirt on it, move on. And then 2-3 days later, you feel incredible aches and pains. And why does this happen? A lot of times this happens, almost every time this happens, unless, we're talking about the more severe, clear and obvious broken bone type of injuries. There's so much adrenaline pumping through your body at the time of an accident that it masks a lot of the pain. So you wake up the next day, 2 days, 3 days later, and you feel like you got hit by a truck, like not while you were in a car, but just like plowed by a truck. And that's no fun. So if they've brought an ambulance to the scene and they're asking you to get in it, listen to them. These are medical professionals. It is what they do. They have identified certain things about your disposition, the impact to the vehicles, skid marks on the road. There are signs that they are trained to look for that say there might be something more severe going on here. Get these folks to the ER, take them in the ambulance. So if the EMTs are telling you to get in the ambulance, listen to them. Again, just like you're here listening to me about what to do after an accident, because it's what I do, it's what I've been trained to do, it's what I have years and years and years and years and years of experience getting the proper results in doing. The EMTs, the doctors at the ER, the physical therapists, they're doing what they do. I'm not going to give you physical therapy. As I've mentioned before, I'm not going to tell you what medical care to get. I'm only going to tell you, listen to the professionals in their area. If they're telling you to get in the ambulance, get in the ambulance. If they're telling you to get the x-ray, get the x-ray. Don't show up at the hospital, think that the line's too long, and then leave. It's not good. And you're going to get a bill for no care. As long as you go through triage, you're getting a bill. So you might as well get the care. Plus, you're probably more hurt than you think you are those first day and second day after the accident. So any of those injuries are things that we deal with every single time. It's not just broken bones. It's not just surgeries in our world, but we deal with the minor stuff too. Where do these injuries come from? Well, your body's moving and the car is moving in one direction, and then all of a sudden the car stops and your body keeps moving and you get jolted around in the vehicle. So some of these injuries, what they call soft tissue injuries, these sprains, strains, things of that nature, they come from that non-direct impact type of shifting around the body and the jerking that is commonly referred to as whiplash. But it's also common to get smacked in the face by that airbag. Sometimes in a side collision, your head hits on the window or the side of the door. I've had clients who the accident happened so fast that they still hit their head on the steering wheel and then got the jolt from the airbag. That's not fun. They're not all just the moving around and whiplash. A lot of them happen from impacts in the vehicle. One of the things that's important is that if you know that a part of your body has hit somewhere inside of that vehicle, to keep track of it, to make note of it, to tell them at the ER, hey, I hit my head on the side window. If you lose consciousness or think that you lost consciousness, let them know, because they're going to look for different things. There may be other things that you, probably not a medical professional, just like me, don't necessarily know to look for. So mention absolutely everything when you are there at the EMT, when you are at the ER, or maybe you went to an urgent care, and certainly when you follow up with your doctor, with physical therapy, wherever they send you. It's super important that everybody knows everything that's gone on related to that accident and how you sustained those injuries. That's all I got for right now, folks. I hope this is helpful. I hope this is informative. Again, if you have questions for me, email me, info@bowerslawmd.com. Happy to either discuss it on the podcast myself or invite a guest who knows a lot more about that topic than I do. Until next week, be safe out there, folks. I'm your Monday morning lawyer at Bowers Law.